Hey everyone, David Morrison here from the Vol Society Network. Here to talk to you a few minutes about the 2023 SEC Men's Basketball Tournament, which will take place tonight in Nashville, Tennessee at Bridgestone Arena. So glad it's back in the Music City. Like I said, I'm just going to talk a few minutes, just hit a few highlights of each of the 14 teams in the SEC that will participate in the SEC tournament, including our beloved Tennessee Volunteers, who is number 5 in the SEC tournament. So I'll go ahead and pull up the SEC tournament bracket here. And there we go. All right. So let's start over here in the 12-13 matchup. This is the games that will take place tonight. Number 13 seed Ole Miss taking on number 12 South Carolina. Disappointing seasons, obviously, for both teams. They both come into this contest 11 wins with 20 losses. Ole Miss ended up firing their head coach, Kermit Davis, on February the 24th. So, obviously, Ole Miss will be looking for a new head coach for the next basketball season. Meanwhile, for South Carolina, they had a first-year head coach in Lamont Paris, formerly coached at Chattanooga. Like I said, kind of a rebuilding season, but they did have some buzz going into the beginning of the season with their the number one high school basketball player in the nation, Gigi Jackson, on this South Carolina team. A lot of fans thought, well, maybe this team can be a surprise run in the SEC, but just didn't work out for them. But Gigi Jackson does average 15 points a game, so kind of a player to watch out for tonight when Ole Miss takes on South Carolina. And as you see in the bracket right here, the winner of this game will take on Tennessee on Friday afternoon. Tip-off scheduled around 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Central. But, I wouldn't count on us starting right on time because you always got to wait extra 30 minutes with these earlier games. Later on in the evening, you'll see the 14-11 matchup, LSU taking on Georgia. LSU comes into this contest 13-18. They have a new first-year head coach in Mike McMahon, came from Murray State. And like I said, just kind of a disappointing first season for him. But they do have an exciting player in KJ Williams, 17 points per game, 7 rebounds per game. So a bit of a spark for a team, like I said, went 13-18 on the year. Meanwhile, for Georgia, the number 11 seed, they end up picking up the former head coach of the Florida Gators, Mike White, just completed his first season, went 16-15, played better than, I guess the last 2-3 seasons that they've played in the past. But, like I said, this team, like I said, they, despite going 16-15, they played a lot better, played better team basketball. This team doesn't have a lot of big time stars or household names, but they do grind out some teams and end up defeating Kentucky on their home court this season. But those are your two Wednesday night games. Moving on to the Thursday games really quick. The 8-9 matchup, Florida, as we mentioned Mike White earlier, taking on Mississippi State. Mississippi State had a really good season for first-year head coach Chris Jans, who came from New Mexico State. And, of course, we all know what's happened in New Mexico State in recent times. If you don't know the whole situation, I suggest Googling it after this. Pretty wild stuff there. But anyways, Chris Jans in Mississippi State went 20-11 on the year. They got a great player in Tolo Smith, averaging 15 points, 8 rebounds per game. This is a NCAA tournament bubble team right here. Mississippi State looking to make a deep run this weekend in Nashville to solidify their spot in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the winner of the SEC tournament gets the automatic bid to the big dance. Meanwhile, for Florida, the Gators 16-15. First-year head coach Todd Golden came from San Francisco, a young coach, to be exact, one of the rising coaches, I guess, in college basketball. They end up losing their best player of the year, Colin Castleton, on February 15th. Broke his hand, done for the year, but the SEC media did reward Colin Castleton on a great season this season by naming him first team All-SEC. a tough blow for Florida, and really when Castleton went out, that team unfortunately took a nosedive and just really lost that leadership and experience of Castleton. And that's the other thing about this SEC tournament this weekend. Injuries have really played dividends, not only with Castleton at Florida, obviously Sagai Ziegler from Tennessee, and then we'll talk about Vanderbilt as they lost their best player on the year. So some big-time names in SEC basketball, unfortunately, not participating this weekend in Nashville. Tennessee, obviously our beloved Volunteers, the fifth seed, 22-9 on the year. I already mentioned about losing Sakai Ziegler, but Tennessee did pick up a couple of players back from injured reserve, if you will. And Josiah Jordan James, of course, he's been in and out of the lineup all season. And then Julian Phillips come back just recently for Tennessee. Vols coming off the loss last Saturday to Auburn, which ended up unfortunately not getting the double bye in the SEC tournament, and that helped Missouri get in. But like I said, Tennessee, I guess you can call a dark horse going into this tournament, but I think a lot of, I guess even the media kind of considers Tennessee to be in the thick of things this upcoming weekend. 7-10 matchup. The Arkansas Razorbacks, probably the most disappointing team in the SEC this season, 19-12 on the year. This is supposed to be, a top tier SEC team. Matter of fact, a lot of people thought where Arkansas is probably where Alabama should have been, but just a total 180 for Arkansas this year, 19-12 in the year. Ricky Council is a great player, leads the way in points at 16 points per game. And then meanwhile for Auburn, 20-11 on the year, another team that I guess is on the bubble, but I would probably put them in the NCAA tournament because their strength of schedule is in the top 30s. But Bruce Pearl's Auburn Tigers, 20-win season, Jahani Broome and Wendell Green leads the way for the Tigers. And then you see the other team, the number 6 team in the bracket, also getting a bye, and that's Vanderbilt. Kind of a team that nobody was talking about all year, and I guess you can call Vanderbilt the redheaded stepchild of the SEC just because of the name. But they had a really good season for Jerry Stackhouse group, 18-13, and we mentioned the injuries. Liam Robbins unfortunately went out for the year, but he really helped this Vanderbilt team get to the 18-win plateau. 50% field goal shooter that Vanderbilt is not going to have this weekend, so who's going to kind of step up for the Commodores this weekend? And I guess we'll find out. And then you see the 1-4, the double byes going into Friday. Alabama leads the way in the number 1 seed. Brandon Miller named APP SEC Player of the Year, also Freshman of the Year. And, of course, the dark cloud that's overhanging this Alabama basketball program around Brandon Miller. Once again, I think everybody kind of knows what's going on there. And that's going to really linger on into the NCAA tournament, especially if Alabama somehow gets the number 1 overall seed. That's going to be kind of the talking point throughout, not only this weekend in Nashville, but throughout Alabama's entire tournament run. But despite all that, this is a very talented Alabama team. 26-5 on the year. At times can be a little inconsistent, but they can shoot the ball the lights out very well. So we'll see how Alabama does this weekend with all the controversy going around the program and Brandon Miller. We'll jump to the number 2 seed, Texas A&M. Definitely the surprise team in the SEC for me. Buzz Williams has done a fantastic job with this program. Last year, Tennessee defeated Texas A&M in the SEC tournament championship in Tampa last year. But this Texas A&M program, 23-8 on the year. Wade Taylor IV leads the way in points and I believe assists also. This is definitely a tournament solid team and could make a deep run not only this weekend and possibly win it in Nashville, but definitely in the NCAA tournament. Number 3 seed Kentucky, 21-10 on the year. End up getting red hot towards the last couple of weeks of the season. Oscar Tshiebwe, of course, the 2022 Naismith winner, the Naismith winner last year. Like I said, had another solid season. Like I said, some disappointing losses along the way for Kentucky. Of course, being Tennessee fans, we enjoy the Kentucky taking the disappointing losses. Although Kentucky did sweep our Vols, so I give a little praise there, I guess. But Kentucky does finish third in the SEC, and another team that's an odds-on favorite to win this weekend. And then the final team we'll preview, the Missouri Tigers, 23-8 on the year. Kobe Brown leads the way with 15 points per game. Missouri, like Texas A&M, another surprise team this season. Dennis Gaines, first-year head coach, came from Cleveland State University. Really turned this Tiger program around, playing some great basketball all season. And like I said, end up slotting a double bye in this weekend's tournament here in Nashville. So that's kind of a look at what to expect this weekend. As you see, Tennessee, the number 5 seed in this SEC tournament. So looking at the bracket, Tennessee obviously will meet the winner of Ole Miss and South Carolina on Thursday afternoon. And then on Friday afternoon, if they advance there, we'll take on Missouri. And then on Saturday, they will get most likely Alabama, although it could end up facing Florida or Mississippi State on semifinal Saturday. On semifinal Saturday, easy for me to say, and then championship Sunday. One of these teams on the bottom most likely will be Kentucky if Tennessee does make a deep run. So that's kind of a look at the SEC tournament in general. I expect a great tournament. I expect to see a lot of surprises this weekend. I'm excited to see some of these players that have kind of really broke through, like a Wade Taylor, the fourth. Obviously the Alabama situation is going to be interesting to see also. And maybe Josiah Jordan-James for Tennessee can step up and have that great run like he did last year in the SEC tournament. So a lot of good storylines to watch out for this weekend in Nashville. Like I said, this is one of my favorite times of the year, not only with March Madness, but with these conference tournaments going on and all these tickets being punched to the big dance. And this is a big ticket right here this weekend in Music City, USA. So that's kind of a quick preview of the SEC tournament. Just hit some highlights there. Like I said, Tennessee will be playing Thursday afternoon. Scheduled start time 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, but plan on starting that game around like 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. So if you if you get off work at 3 o'clock, chances are you're probably not going to miss the tip-off. So I wouldn't get into a big rush there. And it may be 4 o'clock, so just give you a heads up. And then on Friday, probably around the same time too, probably 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then the weekend, obviously, unless you're working, you're set there. But that's a quick preview of the SEC tournament. Enjoy the games, everyone, and we'll catch you next time right here on Vol Society. David Morrison with this SEC tournament preview. Enjoy the hoops, and as always, go Vols.